once in a while, a magic card comes along that actively contradicts itself, but at the same time creates a thing of true beauty. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here today to talk about a new card from Commander Legends that has absolutely amazing flavor. We're going to be talking about Obeka Brute Chronologist. And I'll admit, at first when I saw the card, the ability of it I found somewhat interesting, but then I just moved on to other cards and actually completely forgot that she exists. And I was reading an article going over the flavor concept behind different characters and realized that Obeka is insanely flavorful and really cool as a concept and plays around with an ability that does not show up frequently in Magic the Gathering. So, Obeka is 1 red, 1 black, 1 blue, and a generic mana for a 3/4 Ogre Wizard. And I mean, we've seen Ogre Wizards in Magic before in blocks like, Kamigawa block, stuff like that, where these ogres are summoning up Onis and all that kind of thing. So, an Ogre Wizard isn't particularly an absolutely new concept, but the way they've spun it out here is really, really interesting. So, Obeka's ability is tap the players whose turn it is may end the turn. And if you choose to end the turn, it exiles all spells and abilities from the stack. The players whose turn it is discards down to their maximum hand size. Damage wears off. And this turn and until end of turn effects end. So it's just like you would think it would be. It's a preemptive ending of the turn with everything that encompasses. And it's crazy because it literally wipes all spells and abilities from the stack. Now, up until this point, you haven't really had the ability to have a conditional end of your opponent's turn. The cards that ended the turn just end the turn. There's only 5 cards that mention ending the turn really in Magic, and it all starts all the way back in Kamigawa with Time Stop, which is a very simple concept, right? You've got the idea of, boom, time just stopped. We're done here. The artwork on Time Stop is amazing. You have this sort of like side view of what looks like 2 different realities. You've got the bird in one hand and the egg in another. Admittedly, it does actually kind of feel a little bit like a time reversal or time advancement spell as opposed to Time Stop. Like, Time Stop would be a bird caught in mid-flight. So I feel like this artwork might have been originally meant for something else, but it doesn't even matter because the artwork is really interesting and striking. It gives you the idea of time manipulation. And in all honesty, one of the things I really liked about Time Stop when they reprinted it for 10th edition was they decided to do the foil version with no reminder text. So if you look at the Time Stop the way we have it on the screen now, you have the end of the turn and that huge paragraph of all the stuff that it means. I've already told you what that did on Obeka, right? So you've got all that there. But with the 10th edition foil version, you just have end the turn. And some people might not like all the negative space around that little phrase in the middle of the box there. But for me, I just find that to be really striking and simple. The whole card is just Time Stop. Okay, turn's over, and it doesn't bother to add in all the reminder text. I mean, do you really need it? The first time you see an end the turn ability, you definitely need some reminder text. But overall, you don't need it. And that just feels clean and nice, right? So that was the first time that we got to mess around with the concept of ending the turn. Really powerful. Like, you can just abruptly do it in response to your opponent. Like, you can use this to end attacks. You can use this to counter spells. You can use this to counter abilities. All of that, right? Now, obviously, the Time Stop is pretty expensive mana-wise. You have to pay 6 mana to be able to do this effect. And that makes sense. Like, this is something that if you can just do this to your opponent, is abruptly stopping them. It's so many different things all at once. It can save you, it can counter spells, it can stop all of this stuff from happening to you. So the next card that we got in the time manipulation variety was Sundial of the Infinite. And at first, I thought this was a really odd choice, but it didn't take long for me to fall in love with the card. So it's 2 generic mana for an artifact, 1 and tap it, end the turn, activate this ability only during your turn. So you're given the ability to end the turn, but under obviously far more restrictive circumstances. You can theoretically use this to stop your opponent's spells. Let's say, for example, an opponent plays a spell during your turn and you don't want it to happen. You go, nope, end the turn. But at the same time, you forfeit the rest of your turn. So your opponent can almost use this as a way to manipulate you into making mistakes with it as well. But it's obviously great with other cards where you don't want them to have their actual effect. Like maybe you have a creature, when it comes into play, it has a huge negative effect, like you lose half your life or something. So you put it into play, the trigger goes on the stack, and you go, actually, you know what, my turn's over. Let's just be done. So it's got a lot of potential. And the idea of having this sundial that lets you control time is really cool. Like the idea of time controlling devices, as opposed to just a momentary spell where you're like, and then you stop time, versus this crazy, like you have to build it and have it in a particular location or whatever, but man, just pull the crank, this day's over, I'm done. Somebody just starts telling you the story of, hey, guess how it went in the Magic tournament for me? And then I played my 4th planes. You're like, day over now, hey, I'm out of the story, I'm in my bed asleep, waking up for the next day. So yeah, Sundial of the Infinite is a cool concept for ending the turn, and it's kind of keeps the power level reasonable by making it only usable on your turn. Now, red actually got to enter the realm of ending the turn one time with a card called Glorious End. And this is supposed to be a play on, like, they have other cards in red that will let you take an extra turn, but you lose the game at the end of that extra turn. So Glorious End is a play, like a twist on that. So it's only 1 red and 2, and it's straight up end the turn, just like Time Stop. So it's a half cost Time Stop that you can do during anybody's turn. But there's a huge downside. And the downside is at the beginning of your next end step, you lose the game. And the artwork clearly shows that this is an intense do or die situation, right? This like heroic leap, I'm gonna take you with me. Like you've got the villain in the arms of the hero who's taking them down into the spikes. At least I assume that's what's going on. Hopefully it's not the hero who's being taken down. But if you're wondering why the name of it is Glorious End, part of that ties into the world of Amonkhet, where everybody on that world had been mentally conditioned to believe that their lives ending would lead to like this glorious afterworld kind of thing. But it really just ended up with them becoming servants of Nicol Bolas, zombified into his army of Eternal. So not so much a glorious end, but either way, an interesting way to take the end the turn concept and add red's chaotic risk level to it, right? And that's what makes it feel more red, because the ending, the time manipulation spells like this, they more feel blue, right? And so we actually got another version of Time Stop, a tweaked Time Stop, in the form of discontinuity, and that was like M21. We have this in standard right now. So it's 3 blue and 3, and as long as it's your turn, the spell costs 2 blue and 2 less to cast, and it ends the turn. So it's got the same casting cost overall roughly as a Time Stop in terms of costing 6 mana. Yes, it does have 1 more blue in the cost to keep you from splashing it as easily. But regardless of that, they went ahead and kind of mixed Time Stop and Sundial of the Infinite, where you can have the effect be big and expensive and use it on your opponent's turn, or you can do it at a very discounted rate to do it on your turn, a la Sundial of the Infinite. So I like that. The artwork for it admittedly confuses me a little bit. Like you've got these ghost hands, and the ghost hand has like a big blade that's slicing through a number of things, like fingers and an hourglass, but the hourglass has sand spilling out, but there's nothing coming out of the fingers. I have to admit, I don't 100% understand the time aspect of this discontinuity magic. I mean, I get the idea that like you're messing with time by cutting into an hourglass, but overall the artwork, like the artwork for everything else feels like it makes a little more sense. Either way, discontinuity is a cool card, but I don't quite get it. Is it supposed to be the guy's own hand cutting through his own reality? I don't know. If you have an idea on that one, let me know. But anyways, this brings me back to Obeka. Now, normally, time magic is used in a very precise manner, right? Obviously, if you're off by even a bit with time traveling magic, then you can end up in the wrong time and place, right? And also, we have that whole like butterfly effect concept where small changes in the past can have massive, drastic impact on the present, right? So you can completely change the world just by making a very minor change in the past. So time magic is generally used in a precise way. We do have characters in Magic's past, like Teferi, for example, who have used time magic with it while they're still young, don't fully understand what it is the forces are meddling with, and as a result, Teferi wiped out like his entire people, essentially. He moved them to a land beyond time where he couldn't even reach them, phased them out of reality unintentionally. And that wasn't him just like crazily throwing caution to the wind. That was literally him trying to like parse out time magic to save people. So time magic is generally a very precise thing. And then you have Obeka, the brute chronologist. She doesn't care. Precision means nothing to her. She just wants to be involved in fight. Like, imagine like a tavern brawler. That's Obeka. She's this like brutish ogre wizard who just wants to be like fighting it out with people in bars and like just where, not even just in bars, wherever. She just wants to be stuck into the middle of it, kind of like orcs from Warhammer 40k. It's like, give me a good battle, that sort of thing, right? So Obeka literally is just constantly spoiling for that kind of adventure, that kind of fight, and her time magic is actually melded into the way that she brawls. So the example that's given, which frankly is amazing to me, is she'll punch somebody in the mouth, and as a result of doing that, she'll literally like, all of a sudden, she'll knock, you know how people can like, I'm gonna knock your teeth out. She knocks your baby teeth into your mouth. Just bam, slams you in the mouth. All of a sudden, your mouth has regressed to the point where you've got your baby teeth. Like, that is such a crazy concept. So she's just constantly meddling with time just by smashing things and going nuts with zero care for what's going on, which is such a cool concept for a time mage. You know what I mean? Where it's literally like, I think one of the other comments was like, you know, that whole like, I'm going to knock you into next week or whatever else. Or it was something along the lines of saying like, she can hate you so hard that your mother will literally feel it through like time travel magic. How crazy is that? The idea of basically like, I want to be engaged in some kind of frenetic kind of activity, and I'm just going to keep meddling with time. It doesn't even matter. She's got this like really kind of like punk brute look to her. She looks really tough and scarred up, and you can see it's like she's just punched through a window or something, and in the little shards of the glass that are flying, you can actually see little bits of her reflection. She's just so cool, man. The idea of somebody who just doesn't care about the effects of their time magic, but also has access to high-level, powerful time magic is amazing. And the flavor text ties in so awesomely. The idea of, I'm bored with now. She's impulsive. Like, she doesn't care. That's so good for a time mage. Imagine the damage that this would do to the timeline if she just showed up. Like, you're a planeswalker, you've got some plane you've been working on, and she just shows up and starts going to town, right? And she cares so little about like precise use of time or anything else like that, that she's willing to use her abilities for anybody. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. You, over there, I'll use your crime board. I'll use my chrono magic for you. What are you doing? Come on, you want to do something? Let's advance time. Let's do this. You know, it's like, send over something for me to punch. I love the idea behind this because it feels so wrong at first, where you go, okay, the idea of like an ogre wizard who just doesn't seem to have like it seems like you'd need a lot of patience to learn time magic. So an impatient time mage who does not care whatsoever about the after effects of their time magic is an incredible concept. Let's be real. Like, that's knocking it out of the park. I was originally going to talk about the tortoise and the hare concept that they did as well. There's a lot of cool flavor from Commander Legends that is bubbling to the surface. And honestly, stuff was coming so fast that it was hard to kind of pull it all apart. But now that they've got these awesome little like flavor blurbs to go along with the characters as well, like the information about Obeka just came out yesterday, right? And I just found it today. And reading it, I was like, this adds so much to the character. I have to say, I'm really happy that Wizards is taking the extra effort to sprinkle in, even if it's just a paragraph of lore. It adds so much depth to a character and helps to explain all the abilities of the character as well. So that ties together fantastically. Anyhow, I'm interested in your thoughts on the matter. So let me know in the comments below what you think of Obeka. If you enjoy what I'm doing here, liking the video, commenting on the video, and subscribing to the channel are all excellent ways to help my channel grow. In addition, sharing the video around for other people to watch it if you enjoyed it is a fantastic way to help me grow. And I appreciate everybody who does that. And I also appreciate all my patrons who are scrolling by on the screen. So if you want to help me even further, jump on my Patreon. Thanks for coming by, everybody. Link to my newest lore video on the screen. See you later.